You may have to cue me when to a good time to start.
No time like the present.
Thank you, Liam. All right. You want me to get going, Maggie?
Yes, go ahead, Robert.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out and being a part of our Active Transportation Alliance Week Without Driving virtual speak out. I'm W. Robert Schultz III. You can simply call me Robert. I'm a campaign organizer at the Active Transportation Alliance. Apologize for the funky video here. I'm sure you can hear me. And I know my image is a little blurry or whatever, but we'll chalk that up to 21st century gremlins. Um, we're here today with this event, this virtual speak out, for a couple reasons. Uh, One, this is the third year that they've had a National Week Without Driving, and it just happens to coincide with a couple major campaigns that Active Trans is running and being a part of. One is our Fix It and Fund It campaign with regard to public transportation, on our belief that public transportation is essential. And then our other campaign that might not be as well known as Safe Streets for All, the idea that everybody deserves opportunity to be out and get from place to place safely and do so without necessarily depending on cars or private vehicles. So that's why we're doing this. And we want to take a holistic approach. This is going to be a conversation among friends and advocates that have showed up in response to our overtures to participate in this virtual speak out. So there'll be some interactive things, but I want to first tell you just a little bit about Active Transportation Alliance. So Active Transportation Alliance, this is our 40th year. We're really, really happy for this. A lot of people know us as the bike organization, but we're more than biking. Um, we advocate for walking because, in my opinion, everybody is a pedestrian. Even if you drive every day, you have to get somewhere to your car, either from your car to the shopping center or your car to the, wherever. So everybody's a pedestrian. And then there's no such greater joy than biking. Biking always seems to lift your mood, and we'd like to see people biking safely across the city and the region, whether you're 8 or 80. So we advocate for walking and biking, both active transportation modes. And then finally, you got to walk or bike to public transportation. And public transportation is essential, and it helps us create healthy and sustainable and equitable communities. So that's the work of Active Transportation Alliance. You might know us by our signature event that we held a few weeks ago, Bike the Drive. But like I say, I'll reiterate, even though we're known as a bike organization, walking and public transportation are very important to us. And right now, the state of Illinois is looking at public transportation like several other states with major urban areas. And I think this is time for the next slide. And so why is this matters? So we have a couple little factoids that we just want to share with people. You know, when you're in an elevator or have a conversation with someone at Starbucks, these are some factoids that you can remember why it's important to be able to navigate the world without driving, and why it's important for the state of Illinois to invest in public transportation. So one factoid is for every dollar invested in Chicago area transportation or transit returns $13 in value from economic activity and travel time savings. And cuts to Chicago public transportation would increase travel times across all modes, including cars. So it would add to the congestion that we already experience on the Kennedy and Western and other streets. And this is the last little factoid is one I know it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, but statistically, and that's because people have a hard time evaluating risk. But anyway, statistically, buses are 60% safer than personal vehicles per passenger mile traveled. So if you get on a bus, you're really investing in safety as well as a cleaner environment. So we have a little exercise here. It's called Menti. You may have seen it. You go to menti.com. You can pull it up on your phone or your computer, and then you see a code there, or you can use that QR code in the slide there, and you put in 3109-6123, and that will take you to, I believe, a word cloud where we're asking people to put in, what does transportation mean to you? So we'll allow you about a minute to do that. I don't know if we can show the results of that or not. We're still learning our way around our tools of the 21st century. Ah, here we go. Yeah, I like affordability, health, sustainability, freedom, joy, all important values. Yeah, I really like the idea of community connectedness. Over the weekend while biking, I ran into a longtime friend that I hadn't seen before, and if I was driving, I wouldn't have seen him. Definitely low stress. Someone mentioned recently in conversation how they tense up when they get into a car, and so they like being able to relax a little bit when they're walking or biking, rolling, or doing public transit. So we'll take about another 10 seconds and then we'll move on. Yeah, fun. Nothing like a young child on the L, right? For the first time. You can't beat that. Okay, so we've seen some words about why it's important to the people on this call. So I just wanted to open this up now to our participants here. It will what I'll say is we'll popcorn it, and if it doesn't popcorn, I'll intervene as a moderator to move you on. But to get us started, um, share your name and your community, and then what is I'm sure there's a whole list of destinations you'd like to go to, but maybe what's the number one destination you find yourself going to during the week? And that might be work, that might be school, that might be church or a volunteer opportunity. Who knows? So take it away.
I'm obviously not from here originally. I have a home in suburban Batavia, but also work and live in Chicago City. So I use the metro to come in. Sometimes I drive if I need to do site visits. My background is in public transit, public policy, infrastructure, and Sydney planning. I did the Sydney Metropolitan Plan for 2037 quite a few years ago and put together the first integrated public transport network, the largest geographic one in the world in southeast Queensland. I had very thick black curly hair when I started that project. And when I got to Chicago and looked at the state of the RTA, I felt like it was back to the future. And so, I'm with you all about I use the CTA all the time. I use my 12 and my 4 bus quite regularly, and I use the green, orange, and red lines. And I won't say my number one target on public transport or cycling or walking, but my favorite per week is obviously visiting the pub.
A very interesting system and trying to navigate it to make it more user friendly. So, and that's my only mode of transportation. So I'm using it exclusively for other obligations and doctor's appointments and social things as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ginger?
Okay, hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So my name is Ginger Wheeler. I live in the western suburbs of Chicago. We in the western suburbs, especially in my community, it's not very bike friendly. And it's friendly in the sense that the streets aren't maybe as busy as they are in Chicago, but there's very few dedicated bike lanes, and getting around on a bike for anything other than just purely recreational is a challenge. So I only use my bike for recreational purposes to get out and just ride. And we have a trail, the Illinois Prairie Path, which goes through our town. And then we have another trail called the Great Western Trail, which also goes through our town. And they are parallel trails. They do not connect. So you can go east or west on either one of them, but it takes you a really long time until they get connected. So it's out on one and then back the same way you came. My colleague Libby Ahern is on the call, and I have been working for 11 years to get the East Branch DuPage River Trail built in our community, which is a long planned, over 30 years planned, but never fully developed or funded recreational hiking bike trail that would go north-south. It would connect these two great resources, these two other great recreational trails. But it would also allow people better means of actual transportation between many, many, many destinations. Lots of parks, lots of shopping centers, the center city of Glen Ellen, places like the Morton Arboretum. Right now you could bike in the Morton Arboretum. It's got acres and acres, it's beautiful, but you can't get there on a bike unless you go on a really busy highway, which most sane people don't do. I know some people do it. No offense to the ones that do, but I think you're crazy. Anyways, so we are here to talk about, we'd love to have more opportunity for using vehicles, our feet, our bikes to get around the suburbs, not just our automobiles. And that's what I'm here to talk about.
Great. Thank you. Nick and Lincoln, care to share about your favorite destinations and where you go to on a regular basis?
Hi, my name is Lincoln. I am in 7th grade. We live in Avondale, but I go to school in Albany Park. I take the 82 Kimball bus to school every day. That is my main destination, of course. But I also use public transport to go visit my friends and go downtown for leisure purposes and do all the other great things that public transport allows you to do.
My name is Nick. I'm Lincoln's dad. I mostly get around on my bike, but occasionally I'm on transit to go further places or places where I don't want to arrive all sweaty from a long ride. So I think yeah, usually it ends up being school since I haven't I have another kid as well who's 8.
Bob, you're muted. I think we're still muted. There we go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Strong.
There we go.
I'm from the south side of Chicago, the very far south side, close to the Indiana border. I've been a transit individual for years, and I just love the transit in the city of Chicago and then the arterial system that leads out with Metro to the outlying suburbs. A couple of places that I like to go because I'm not able to ride right now. I'm not able to bike. I have a little situation with sciatica. And if anybody knows that, that's a very painful and troubling situation. But I do have 3 bikes and I love to bike. And when I do bike, I bike on the lake shore. But basically, I've been riding CTA lately and I've been riding Metro. And I like to go out to Joliet. I love the scenery out there. It's old fashioned. It's the old type of brick and a lot of the foundations out there of that character. I like to go to Aurora. I take Metro out to Aurora. I like to hang out by the Fox River, by the Paramount Theater. I like to ride to Elgin. It's old fashioned in the back of the yards, rural areas that I love being involved with. And I just get my peace and joy from that. And then I take the red line. I take the red line up to Sheridan by Loyola University. I grew up that way, went to school up that way, and I have a very fond love for that. So I'm just an avid transit rider and just enjoying the trip. I get my peace. I get to see other people, and it just brings me joy knowing that we still have this kind of transit available to us. I don't know what we do without it, and that's where I am with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for sharing. Anyone have a story about maybe? Oh, Libby, I forgot about you. I'm sorry. To share who you are and your community and where you'd like to go.
Sure. I am in Lombard, western suburb, and have been working on the trail project with Ginger Wheeler, the East Branch Trail that she mentioned. But I have 2 young kids, 10 and 6, and they like to ride bikes. So a place that we go often is just the grocery store. I like to be able to not take a car if it's within a mile or 2. Sometimes that's not very easy out in the burbs. I used to live in Logan Square in the city, and I really enjoyed taking public transportation there. I took the 82, actually, Lincoln, so up to Von Steuben High School. So I loved meeting the different people that were there on the train. You never know who you're going to run into, or the bus. And I'd love to expose my kids to that sort of community building through public transit. I drive to work. I work in Franklin Park. It's like 20 miles. And I would love to be able to just sit, and I'm a teacher, so like grade my papers while I'm going from one place to the other for my commute. But unfortunately, that's not possible right now with our current transportation system. So I'd love to see more public transit out in the suburbs and strengthen what we already have in the city as well.
Be hard to see less public transport in the suburbs, I'd suggest.
Right? Yeah, seriously. And
No weekends. Apparently we don't have to go
yes.
anywhere on a weekend.
Yeah. I'm going out to Aurora. I went to Schaumburg like recently just to meet up with friends, and it's just not a viable solution to get from one place to the other out here unless you want to spend half the day like on public transit. Yeah.
So my suburban folks, it's maybe easy for you to get to the city, but getting, like you said, from Lombard to I forget the other suburb you mentioned, but it's one suburb to another is pretty difficult, right?
Yes, unless it's on the same metro line, which my work and my friends are not, then you're kind of out of luck and have to rely on the car.
And the pace doesn't help you out either, I take it. Pace
Not really. I'm off of Butterfield Road, so there is a Pace bus that has a stop close by, but it doesn't go to the destinations that I needed to go to.
Is yours a
Well,
two-hourly service?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
During the week, the Pace suburban bus network that operates in Batavia, across Geneva and Aurora is every 2 hours during the
Yes.
week. And that to me is not a developed world public transit system. That's, a nightmare. You get disappointed if you miss a bus and you've got to wait 8 minutes like you do in Sydney, Brisbane, London, Paris,
Yeah.
Asia every 4 minutes.
Any other city.
But 2 hours, and you're right about destinations. They've just shifted the food bank in Batavia. It is now no longer on the Pace network because they had to get a facility that was cheap and the council helped them get it and it was perfect facility for the food bank. Not so good considering the vast majority of the people they're attempting to help live in affordable housing, which is on the route, but the bus now no longer goes to where they needed to go to get their food. So, we all have stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a great illustration. There's a lot of people lower income that do depend on public transportation and other support services. But if you can't get there, what good is it? Mick, what I've talked to a lot of young people about Chicago's public transportation and getting to school, which is probably your number one destination, particularly in the morning, on a timely basis. How good does that serve you and your classmates getting there on time?
Well, the bus route I live on is pretty frequent, so it's not every 2 hours like some of those suburban bus routes are, luckily. But of course, with these upcoming, possible transit cuts that we need to make sure don't happen, if they do happen, then the buses are going to be a lot more spaced out and a lot less frequent, and therefore a lot more crowded. I've already noticed that they've become a lot more crowded, like compared to last school year, because I think the CTA is starting to prepare for those cuts. Like they don't run articulated buses on the route anymore. They used to, but now they don't because they're probably trying to cut costs. So I think the impacts of these cuts are already being felt before they even happen because the RTA is preparing for the worst case scenario.
That's an astute observation. Well, so far this conversation has been quite intriguing, but we have another Menti poll to break up the flow of things. So I think this one is around modes of how you get to one place or another. So any other ways that you get to a local destination, pick them. I'm doing a lot of biking to my CTA bus stop and L station. I'm a little reluctant to take a scooter, but I do so every once in a while. And I'll admit, I did do rideshare today because I had a bunch of junk in my hand to return to the office for Bike the Drive. Just from our panelists, how walkable is your neighborhood where you reside? I shared a story with one of you about trying to deal with the neighborhood I grew up in, and I found out how unwalkable and there were really no destinations to go to. So how walkable can you go to the drugstore in your neighborhood? Or if you need some toothpaste in the morning, can you run down the street and get some? Anyone?
I'll take that, Robert. Evanston's probably pretty ADA accessible. But as I mentioned, I use paratransit, so I have to schedule my rides 24 hours in advance, so I don't have the flexibility of taking the mainline transit system.
And what would help you out more to allow you greater independence? Would that be more access to paratransit, or
More
that?
access to paratransit services,
Mm-hmm.
which the state appropriation should give us, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever use the mainline services
Rarely, because my sense of direction is I get confused with my surroundings, but I do that periodically.
And when you do you find lifts accessible? Or I know, like with Metra, they got a ways to go.
Yes, most of the lifts are accessible. There are a couple where they have been working. So, but for the most part, the wheelchair lifts have been accessible on ramps and things.
And you know, Nick and Lincoln talk about using you know, the buses and that sort of thing. And Bob, I know, does a lot of travel. What could you know, people that use the bus and stuff to reach their destinations, uh, what are some things that maybe make it unpleasant, and what are some things that might could improve the situation? And for our suburbanites, lean into how pace could be better.
Well, I'll start if you like, Robert. I mean, one of the things about putting together the one electronic ticket network in Southeast Queensland was trying to get my colleagues, the other senior executives in the Department of Transport, and the political leadership to actually use the goddamn service. So me advocating passionately for it didn't seem to hit a bell. You get rewarded in the public service by being given a car and a large salary, and that large salary allows you to buy acreage on the edge of the city and to drive that government car to and from your acreage. So running the system, you really didn't give a toss whether the morning bus didn't turn up and you had to wait another hour in the Queensland sun, with skin cancer being the biggest killer of Australians, for another bus to turn up. So I became very unpopular, but it worked very well in making them catch public transport at least one day to and from. And in fact, the Premier made it a rule for all senior public servants across all departments. And it's incredible how passionate these people became about advocating for more regular, better air-conditioned bus services in the outer suburbs when they started having to do it once a week. So it's interesting, I think, how you can form coalitions and how you can put pressure, you know, on organizations to actually do better, because it wasn't delivering for the consumer. It wasn't delivering for the customer. It was all being, you know, manipulated at the top using a dashboard that said the buses mainly ran on time and that's a tick, rather than the sorts of things that turn people off using public transit by not being reliable, not turning up on time, etc. So I think that would be really important. The Regional Transport Authority chair is, I believe, an outer suburban Republican who ran for governor, who was, you know, backed by the gun lobby. I think probably the last bus he was on was a school bus in 1964. So, you know, I think it'd be helpful if some of the people making the key decisions actually got on and off and understood that the 12 to, you know, down Roosevelt that goes way west is often overcrowded, even with, you know, a bendy bus. It often has social issues on it that the drivers do a magnificent job of handling. You know, the number of people who are itinerant and have other issues, you know, because medical facilities at one end, Veterans Affairs, etc. So people in the system, working the system, are doing very well. The people who run it, who fund it, not so well. They don't get a pass mark from me.
Yes, I'm muted. Yay, Bob. Bob Strong from you've seen changes over Chicago for a long time, and Liam raises an interesting point, and there was an interesting changes over Chicago point, and there was an interesting. Yes. I think I'm being hit by gremlins. Bob, could you share a little bit about how responsive your South Side politicians have been? A little bit about how responsive your South Side politicians have been.
I didn't hear you, Bob. One more time, please.
Yeah, Leah mentioned that getting the politicians on board was really important to the success of the work that they did in Australia. And I wondered, you've been around for a long time.
That's the work they did.
A lot of communities. What is your take on local Chicagoland politicians and public transportation?
Well, every chance I get, I try to tell them that, this is where you need to be. I'm sure you guys already know the narrative. They talk a good game, but as far as actual implementation, you won't see them on the transportation. That's something that they just don't want to do. I believe that in order to, create policy, you have to be a part of the process. I had a conversation the other day, and I don't want to get too far off, but I had a conversation and I noticed that, and this is not a knock on the mayor, but I noticed, well, anyway, let me just say this. In the backyards of where I'm at is the CRC facility where they make transit cars for the rapid transit, okay, for the CTA transit. And I see what those cars look like when they come off the line. But then we get to the actual implementation of trains on the rails, and I don't understand why when the mayor has people coming from out of town and they want to do a trip on the rails, that they take about 4 cars, okay? And they do a great job of cleaning those cars up for those friends that are coming in from out of town so they can see the city of Chicago, go out to O'Hare Airport. But when that doesn't happen, we're stuck and we just have to take what they give us, right? I mean, we just can't get that same cohesiveness. But I think that because we're speaking out a little bit more now, and I think that's a situation that they will understand. We need you all out there on the rails. I don't know about the buses. I just know that a lot of politicians, they would say, well, hey, we'll ride the rails, but we'll just ride them on an event just for a photo op. And I don't think that's good. I've seen it over the years where I remember when the Lake Street Dan Ryan was put in place. I think that was back in '68. And I was one of the original riders on there with Mayor Daley when they took, because, back in the day, there used to be a timestamp at the top of each station, and it would tell you how long it would take to get downtown because they used to run 70 miles an hour on the Lake Dan Ryan. That doesn't happen anymore. But we did have politicians back then. I remember the Mayor Daley, he was riding, some other politicians from the South Side, but all that has ceased to stop. And I think that in order to make this thing more effective, I think we need to have eyes and boots on the ground with this. It just can't be just coming to every board meeting and telling them what you see and what you need to know just to get them activated. So that's something we really need to work hard on. We need to really make sure that they understand what this is all about. Yeah, it's been a lot of changes over the years, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was good. I appreciate that.
I wonder if Libby or Ginger might have a perspective as suburban advocates working with their politicians and getting them to buy in.
One thing that we have had success on is getting people out to the trail site where we want the bike trail to happen. And I think that that's something that can be repeated depending on which mode of transportation you're advocating for. Congressman Caston and our local representatives have come out and seen the site and been in the area where the trail could go to show them the potential firsthand. And that was helpful in securing some initial funding for the East Branch Trail project. We got a little over $1 million in the latest federal infrastructure bill dedicated towards the project. So I think that definitely can be repeated. And I see that too in terms of walking by me. Robert, you had asked earlier about availability of just being able to walk quick out to get toothpaste or whatever. There's a Home Depot really close to me. There's a Target really close to me, but I have to cross 355 on Butterfield Road to get there, and there's no sidewalks. So it really could be more of a walkable community, but it's not, because people aren't going to walk along those really busy roads. So in terms of getting our representatives out to see, I think it would be helpful even just to show them those spots. Like, I really want to be able to walk here. Come with me, like meet me here and a group of people, and like, let's walk together and see how that feels. I think that that could be a really powerful tactic.
Thank you.
Just
Ginger?
echoing what Libby said, if you live in the suburbs, you really don't rely on public transportation to get around for errands like that. You can walk to a store, like Libby said. You might end up crossing a busy road. They've been a little bit better about putting in turn lanes and signals that you can, like at I'd have to cross Roosevelt to get to a store like that. And that's a 5 lanes with, but they have put in crossing signals in the last 10 years or so. So it's been better than it used to be. But nobody, I mean, if you had to take public transportation to do errands like that, you would just be out of luck in the burbs. Honestly, I don't know how people would do it. Maybe they do. I just don't know. But if you don't drive, and I have seen people on these busy roads walking, pushing baby carriages, pushing grocery carts, biking on these busy roads, it's because some people don't drive and they have to find a way to get around for whatever reason. They can't drive. And it's uncomfortable as a driver when you're on these busy roads and you see pedestrians or cyclists. It's like, oh my gosh, like it just doesn't look safe.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. I got
really
one more
right.
question for
Yeah.
Nick and Lincoln. I know I hear reports from Chicago public school people, and I see in my neighborhood, I forget what elementary school is in my neighborhood, but how safe is it to, once you get off the bus or someone's walking to Van Steuben, um, and I know sometimes there's a lot of traffic on Kimball, but we've seen statistics and stuff that speeding happens all over. So once you get off the bus or off your bike, how safe is it around the area of your school to be a pedestrian?
I mean, I think it's okay. It's not perfect. Obviously, there could always be things better, but like both of the bus stops I use have both are always stops, so it makes it easier to cross. So, in terms of speeding, again, like there are enough stop signs on Kimball that it's not too big of a problem. So that's road safety, but there are, other perhaps unwanted members, such as ICE or the National Guard, who have been. I know this isn't meant to be about that, but with their increased presence in our city, it does make me feel a little bit more unsafe. But that's besides the point. So we can save that for another time.
Yes. Stephen, I got one question for you as a chair user. Um, I got a couple friends that are ambulatory, but they're not going to win any speed races. And we used to live across near Cicero, which is a major north-south street in Chicago that's several lanes in each direction. How is it if you do venture out in your chair, when you try to cross the street, how is that for you?
It's better than the city, because Evanston's really at the forefront of making sure all the curb cuts are better, and that we have the resources we need. I'm not bashing the city of Chicago in any way, shape, or form, but it's better for me to live in the suburbs and commute into the city when I need to, if that makes sense.
All right, well, thank you. We're going to take a little short share, Maggie, just a little bit of why this matters, this discussion. And this slide points to some of the health stuff and other issues. Oh, I put up the wrong card. You got the right one. I got the wrong one. Uh, you've heard this mentioned, that over 25% of Chicago households do not have a car, and that's based on the most recent census. And that number pretty much holds true nationally. There's 4.4 million Illinois residents, about a third of Illinois, that do not have a driver's license. And this is definitely going up, that the average monthly cost of car ownership in Illinois is 20 times higher than a monthly CTA pass. So I like to share with people that the best thing that ever happened to me was when my mom's car that I inherited got stolen, because it saved me on insurance, it saved me on car repairs, it saved me on gas. I didn't have to worry about cleaning the car, and it was just a relief. So I think,
Robert, could I just comment on those numbers? It's incredible how those statistics are quite common across the developed world. Every single time I did surveys about people who had access to a car or driving, it was always about a quarter to a third. Whether it was out of suburban Brisbane, inner city Brisbane, out of suburban Sydney, Belfast, where I put in a transport system. It's incredible how that statistic remains relevant. And yet, as co-chair of the Batavia Active Transportation Commission, I still find, councillors and others who have no idea. They are shocked when I mention this statistic and think I'm making it up. That, everyone they know drives a car. Everyone's got a car. Like you have a car. What are you talking about? Some people don't. And then they maybe say, oh, you mean a person in a wheelchair? And I say, no, that is not the only category of people who don't have access to a private vehicle. And sometimes it can be someone with a leg injury for 3 months who are unable to drive the car that they do have. It's about a quarter to a third. And apparently this percentage of the population does not register on the radar of most decision makers that I've come across so far here. So I'm really encouraged, though once again depressed, about seeing, those statistics being once again brought out by that slide.
thank you for sharing. And this is a good segue into just talking about the future of transit, and maybe as Nick and Lincoln to go first, because Lincoln's going to be around a lot longer than I will be. And I heard a story just recently that there's some American cities like Houston that sort of, they're so developed and they're so locked in the way that city is, that they might have missed the ball for getting any real serious public transportation system started. But we're really lucky that we have the bones of a good system. So, Nick, when you get to be 40 years old, what would you like to see in the future of transit for Chicagoland?
Well, I think the L system is good in getting you downtown, so is the metro system. But if you want to go between, neighborhood to neighborhood or suburb to suburb, it's a little bit harder because you need to rely on the, lower frequency PACE and CTA buses. So I think, like a line that goes between like communities without having to go downtown, both on the metro and the CTA, would be very nice. Or at the very least, a proper BRT system, because we don't have any of those really in Chicago yet.
Thank you. And Bob, with your historic background and long time life in Chicago, I'm sure you've seen a couple missteps. What sort of future would you envision?
You've seen a couple missteps. What sort of future would you envision?
Well, to me, let me say this. Transit
You're breaking up a little bit.
train where you can be relaxed and enjoy it and sit back. A lot of people have this attitude about, well, I'm running
You're
late.
breaking up a little bit.
Well, I'm running late. I got to take the train. Okay. I hope the bus gets here on time. These rides are not supposed to be stressful. I mean, that's not what the intention of riding buses or trains are supposed to be. And they've turned this whole paradigm into a 180 shift. And it's about, hey, I got to catch this train at this time. If I miss it, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late for this. I'm going to be late for that. Somehow we got to get transportation back to being comfortable. That's my envisionment. And I'm going to keep working hard to keep pushing that narrative out. Because if you're rushing, you're going to miss some things. You can ride transit, and I can tell you all know this, that you might ride today the route, and then tomorrow the same route. You know what you might say? I didn't see that yesterday when I was on the route. You ever had that happen where you just look out the window and say, I didn't notice that building over there, or I didn't notice that over there. See, and that's the beauty of it, okay? Just seeing things around you, knowing that there's a different pace of what you're doing. So my goal is to try to make CTA as comfortable as it possibly can, because I've seen the change. I've seen it change. Even when I was going back to high school, up around Sin High School, and I got to say shout outs to Von Steuben because they were one of our rivals. But at the same time, we all knew it was comfortable. It wasn't so tedious. Everybody could talk, they could have fun. I just don't see that anymore. And that's one of my goals. And I just want to say, hey, I'm going to try to work hard at that, because I think that's what CTA is missing. I'm sorry, the trains are missing, okay?
Thank you, Bob. I'm pretty bad with this mute stuff too. Stephen, I can pick on you just a little bit to what was your vision of a future for public transportation?
My vision, Robert, is to make it more, if the state gives paratransit the money they need, to expand the services, to make it more, to have more services available to the community. Because the way it stands now, if the state doesn't give them the appropriations, then bus lines will be cut, and therefore paratransit will be not eliminated, but cut. So my hope is to make, have the state give them the appropriations they need to serve the community they serve.
Yeah. And then our suburban, yeah, I'm not on mute. Our suburban crew, we've heard a little bit from Liam, but maybe Ginger and Libby can share a little bit about their vision of the future for public transportation.
Sure. I think that, to someone's point earlier, Liam, I think that it would be great to see the people who design public transit seek out the input of people who are in that third that don't have regular access to a vehicle. When's the last time that a politician hosted a town hall meeting at in a lower income housing development, right? Or places where we know maybe that people have less access to transportation. That's a future that I would like to see, because then whatever is built from that conversation, we know it's going to serve the people that it needs to serve.
Yeah, I would just add that, when you're a suburbanite and you want to go into the city for whatever reason, the thought of getting down to the city can be enough to make you not want to go at all because of the traffic and just catching the buses and trains and making, trying to figure it out. It's just complicated to do it if you're not used to it all the time. And so I think if these cuts happen, it's going to increase traffic. I know that we think twice about going because of the traffic. So they really need to do everything they can to make it easy for people to get around just for economic purposes. Like if it's too hard to go downtown, people are going to stop going to the games and the, shopping and whatever. So that's something they should really consider.
Yes.
And as far as the future, I'd like to see a future where bike trails connect us and we can take trails to get around where we need to go and that they don't just end and that we don't just go out on one and come back on the same one, but maybe they connect and loop and lots of different ways to get around on them. That would be my wish for the future.
Yeah, that's a great way to get around. I think we have another Menti. Is that right, Maggie?
Yeah, I'll pull it up one
Our
second.
final one here. And to people in the audience, we certainly appreciate you guys showing up and listening to this conversation.
Can you say what the Menti code was again?
Yes, it's 31096123.
Thank you.
So this sort of is a truncated version of what we've been talking about. If you had a magic wand, what is the #1 change you would make to improve our regional transit system? Yeah, I really like interconnected. Yeah, get the buses out of traffic. Amen to that. BRT, yes. Mhm. Yeah, frequency, interconnected, usable for all. Oh, very, very, very important. Yeah, one of the things is our state does not put as much resources into public transportation as some of our peer states that have similar urban sizes. And I think we've heard a lot of commentary this evening about interconnectedness and desire to connect our communities more thoroughly than what they have been, and not so much hub and spoke, but connectivity between communities, and also that building bike lane or not bike lanes, bike trails between communities is a real good way of building community and access and connectiveness. So, yeah, thank you for everyone. Safer experiences on CTA. I'll just throw out there that we are continuing to advocate for what's called transit ambassadors, and that's to address some of the social issues that Liam has referred to. And there are challenges that many of our neighbors and siblings and cousins face, who are challenged due to mental illness or lack of income. So and responding to those issues isn't one that's necessarily appropriate for law enforcement, but we will continue to advocate for ambassadors. So thank you for everyone for adding their comment to this Menti. That's many of the themes that we have seen before. So we just want to maybe sort of wind this up and give everybody a chance to have a last quick word or two. And I want to, before we leave, and maybe as we're summing things up, we can put up this last slide. This was a slide I missed. Okay, we'll hit this real quick, and then we'll ask people for just a quick summary that are on the panel about how they intend to carry this effort on, and maybe just reiterate why this is important, why it matters. there's some health issues that listed here with these factoids. Particulate matter contribute to a whole slew of deaths in Chicago. 109 Chicagoans were killed in vehicle crashes in 2024. That includes 38 pedestrians, and that's part of our work of getting people on public transportation and those people driving to slow down. And then it says vehicles are the largest contributor to U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. So that's one of the driving forces for getting people to shift their modes. So any final little comments? If everyone could give themselves about maybe 10 to 20 seconds. We don't have a lot of time left, but we'll start with Stephen, Ginger, Libby, Nick, and Lincoln. And then Liam, I think, is still up there, and Stephen.
Okay, Robert. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel tonight, first of all. And second of all, my plan is to continue to work with the state of Illinois to make sure that the state appropriations are made available for the community that uses paratransit, so no service cuts occur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our suburban crew, Ginger, Liam, Libby.
I think I can speak for both Ginger and I that we'll just continue to reach out to folks about building the East Branch Trail. And
Hope I can ride it someday.
Come the revolution, Robert, when we take all the trucks and recycle them into train carriages and buses, we'll get much greater frequency out of the system. Good cities in the world are cities that actually make it possible for those on lower incomes to move through the urban form. Great cities are ones that wealthy people choose to use that public transit system. And that's the sort of system that we need to have that's attractive to everyone.
Oh, that's a good comment. I like that. That sounds aspirational for you and your comrades to start working on, Nick.
Not so good for truck drivers,
Lincoln.
but hey.
Since you're both younger than me, particularly Lincoln.
Yeah, we're definitely working on that, continuing to be in contact with our lawmakers at all levels of government. In fact, Lincoln's going to be on a field trip
To Springfield, and hopefully I'm going to get to talk to some of our lawmakers down there about fixing and funding our RTA and all of the other lovely downstate transit systems.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. This has been very rich and informative, and I had a lot of trepidation about this activity, but to tell you the truth, this is much richer than I anticipated, and it's because of your contributions and everything that have been very valuable and insightful and very fun, and it did match I just wanted to hear a perspective from a wide range of people who have different backgrounds, but we all agree that we can do better when it comes to moving around and choosing something other than a single occupancy vehicle driven by ourselves to get around. So hope y'all can encourage people to just think or take action, even walk around your community, take the bus or whatever during this National Week Without Driving that's through October the 5th. We're going to have a Climate Action Lobby Day in Springfield on the 15th. We're organizing buses. We're doing this in coalition with other folks around the state, and hopefully we will win this effort. And even if we do get our $1.5 billion for public transit, we still got to work on better sidewalks, curb cuts, sliding, driving down car speeds. So we still have a lot of work to do. So whatever we find next month, we'll have to keep going. So thank you all for being here this evening. I appreciate you all. Thank you for doing this. I hope the audience found this useful. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Amy, for your background support. I want to thank Stephen. I want to thank Nick. I want to thank Lincoln. I want to thank Liam, Libby, and Ginger. And I think I got everybody. Bob, I forgot Bob on the South Side. Sorry, Bob, for all your help in bringing this program together this evening. Thank you.